Hi, this is Ike from Groovy Entertainment. Today we got another book to read for you. Today, book of DuckTales, The Secret City Under the Sea from 1988. So let's get started. One lady summer day, Scrooge McDuck was reading an article in the Duckbird Time while his three nephews played a game. Suddenly, Scrooge interrupted the quiet with a shout. A gold coin had been found on Duckbird Beach, he said. Where did it come from? Asked Dewey, as the nephew gathered around Scrooge. Nobody knows, said Scrooge. The only clue is the engraving on the coin. It said Atlanta 1888 AS. Now I wonder what that means. Let's look Atlanta up in our junior woodchuck guide, said Huey. The boy raced off to get the book. Louis read out loud from the guide. No one knows if Atlanta ever really existed, or is it just a legend? Atlanta is said to be an island who created a very advanced science fiction kingdom centuries ago. Atlanta suddenly sunk into the ocean to become a fabulous undersea city rich in gold, but no one had ever discovered exactly where it's located. Rich in gold? Scrooge's eye lit up. But what does 1888 AS mean? Maybe it means 1888 years after sinking, Louis suggested. Do you think Atlanta still exists, Uncle Scrooge? Asked Dewey. I must find out, said Scrooge. If Atlanta exists, it must have gold. Scrooge and the boys went to the darling inventor, Gizmo Gearloose, for help in searching out Atlanta. Well, Gidro said thoughtfully, if Atlanta is underwater, I better make you a deep sea submarine. After 2 hours of hammering and fitting metal pieces together, Gizmo decided that, declared that the sub was ready to go. The boy helped Scrooge haul a heavy sack into the Atlanta Explorer. The sack was filled with gold in case they ran into any unusual expense along the way to Atlanta. Gid- Gidro sealed the hatch and started the engine. The sub died beneath the water. The undersea adventure had begun. They plunged down into the dark deep of the sea. Strange fish darted across them. The deeper they dove, the darker and more mysterious the sea grew. Turn on your spotlight, Scrooge said to Gizmo. Aye, aye, said Gizmo as he snapped on the spotlight control. Zap, zap. Explosion burst out in front of the sub. Instead of a light bulb, Gizmo had mistakenly put a laser into the spotlight. Its powerful beam was blowing up rocks and shows on the seabed. Gizmo quickly found the switch and turned it off. As water cleared, the crew looked out the sub pothole and gasped. It was Atlanta, the famed city of the ancient legend, lay there glowing under a giant clear dome that rests on the sea floor. Inside the dome was a fantastic and glorious floor. Gizmo guided the sub into an airlock. They all climbed out of the sub and passed through the airlock into the city. Scrooge ran ahead of the other. He saw grizzly piles of gold all around. He rushed from one gold pile to another, shouting, Gold, General Gold. Suddenly, two ducks in uniform commanded, Surrender all your aliens. Surrender, said Scrooge, as the two guards yanked him away from the pile of gold. Why do we have to surrender? Be quiet. You are now King Lord Printer. one guard said as he confided Scrooge's bag of gold. They were taken to King Lord Palace. The king held up Scrooge's bag of gold. You must have plenty more of where you come from, he said to Scrooge. Scrooge refused to answer the king. Very well, said King Lord. Perhaps a little a little stay in prison will give you time to think of your answer. Take them away, he ordered the guards. The guard led their forward to the basement of the palace. They opened a heavy door and locked the crew in a gloomy prison cell. Let me apologize for the rude welcome, said an elder duck sitting in a corner of the cell. This would never have happened when I was king of Atlanta. You was the king of Atlanta, Huey asked. Yes, said the elderly duck. My name is King Gladstone. Then he told them the amazing history of this ancient city under the sea. Thousands of years ago, King Gladstone began Atlanta sinks beneath the sea. Luckily, there was brilliant scientists who discovered a way to make artificial air by using pure gold and underwater elements. This machine had produced all the air for Atlanta. In order to maintain the air-making projects, we use Atlantacans must keep mining gold. King Gladstone continued, only the king would trust with the secret ear-making formula. During my rule, a man named Lord captured me one night and held me in his cell. The Atlantecan thought I was dead. Lord said he had the ear-making formula, so they had to name him king. Then the evil time began for Atlanta. Now King Lord makes everyone work harder and harder searching for gold. King Gladstone said sadly he wants more gold for himself to make gold crowns and jewelry. He'll leave just enough so that he can breathe. But I have refused to give him the secret formula, which is why he keeps me alive. I am the only person in the world who knows how to run this thing. I wish we could help you, said Scrooge, but there doesn't seem to be any way out of this palace. I know, said King Gladstone. I am afraid King Lord will soon use all the gold and our city will be destroyed. Suddenly Scrooge had an idea. Maybe Gizmo spotlight on the sub can help us, he said. But it's really not a spotlight, Uncle Scrooge, said Louie. It's a laser. Yes, said Scrooge, but King Lord doesn't know that. Then Scrooge banged on the door and called to the guards. Tell King Lord that I'm ready to get the gold he wants, Scrooge said. The guard relayed the message to King Lord, and then they returned for Scrooge. You may go and get the gold, the guard said, but the rest of your crew should remain here as hostages until you return. Scrooge guided the sub out of the airlock. As soon as the sub was in the water, Scrooge switched on the laser and aimed it partly beams on the great dome over Atlanta. Zap, zap, the beam burnt a hole in the dome. The dome is leaking, cried the Atlantica. Everyone panicked and began to run away. King Lord shouted orders as his guard tried to stop the water from flooding the city. While the guard was busy repairing the leak, Scrooge sneaked out the sub back into Atlanta. Scrooge dashed back to the Prisoner. He found the key to the cell and opened the door, releasing Gizmo and his nephew and the grateful King Gladstone. Now we must capture King Lord and save the people of Atlanta, said Scrooge. Follow me, boys. As they walked toward the palace, the crowd went wild. Look, someone cried, it's King Gladstone. He's alive. When all the Atlanta saw their beloved former king, they cheered. Then the overpowered King Lord and his guard and threw them in prison. After making sure the leak was repaired, King Gladstone mounted his gold throne. How can I ever thank you? He asked Scrooge. With a big grin, Scrooge looked at the pile of gold nearby. Oh, I'm sorry, Scrooge, said King Gladstone, but we need all the gold in order to keep breathing. You understand, don't you? Scrooge nodded his head as his own bag of gold was returned to him. Back in Duckburg, Scrooge stared at his sack of gold. This is all I have to show for all that trouble, and it's the gold I already have. But we did have an exciting adventure, Uncle Scrooge, said Dewey. And we rescued the people of Atlanta from King Lord, added Huey. We certainly did, Scrooge agreed. And that's the best reward ever. So that was DuckTales, The Secret City Under the Sea from 1988. So if you like, subscribe, share, and comment, have a groovy day. We'll have another video coming out real soon.